We can sing a song. All right. Let's see. Hello, hi everyone. This is Lokesh from the Soul Freedom Show, and we have a very special guest today, CJ, the heavy metal dude, or how do you say it? CJ, I forgot. Motivator.
The metal motivator.
The metal motivator. And hi, oh, sorry. Let me. I think my YouTube is acting up. Okay, hi, DiTina. Sorry about that.
Hi, metal up.
Metal up. There you go.
Metal up. I hope, can somebody confirm if you're live, because my YouTube just something went wrong. But if I think there's a few people on the live stream, if anybody can confirm everything is good. It's on. All right. Okay. Hi, CJ.
Hello,
why don't you give us a little bit of an intro about you, and we'll go from there.
Well, Metal Motivation, I guess, is the place to start. Is a motivational project. It is inspiration and motivation for people who love hard rock, heavy metal. So in that sense, I don't do anything dramatic or theatric. I don't come on like a professional wrestler and do any kind of shtick. If you were to listen to me for any given time, it would sound just like this. It's just that I personally love heavy metal, and the outlook is just very black and white, edgy, very analogical or reflective of heavy metal itself, because heavy metal is a form of music that had an uphill climb, right? A steep, muddy slope. Yep. So it never got a break. It never got radio play. It was not user friendly. It wasn't, they're long songs. It's not pop music. Remember in the 80s when some of our heavy metal stars like Ozzy Osbourne and Rob Halford were brought into courts, being accused of helping kids to commit suicide, or during the censorship hearings, when, Dee Snider was making the case against censorship, and Elton John and the like. John Denver. So, metal has never got a break. So in order to go from obscurity and margins, such as the days of Black Sabbath, all the way to where the biggest touring act of all time in history is the band Metallica, not of just rock bands or metal band, but I mean of all entertainment ever,
Metallica.
Is a band called Metallica. And so now you have in virtually every country of the world heavy metal bands, including the depths of tribal Africa. There are heavy metal bands. There's not, country can't do that. Jazz can't do that. So heavy metal has to have, fortitude. It had to believe in itself. It had to overcome obstacles. It had to deal with rejection. It had to climb its way for every single thing it had. So metal motivation is reflective of that. So I don't give out a lot of magical thinking. Does it mean I don't believe in certain things, whether it's mind over matter or what? It doesn't mean those things don't work, or somebody can't say that the law of attraction worked for them. It just means I can't apply that to every person who listens to me. So I don't teach it. Right. I want to give it to whatever I can empirically prove works, then that's exactly what I'm going to purport. But it's just it's niche marketing, which, as you guys know, is really the way you have to play the game now in the era of social media marketing. Because prior to social media, something like a metal motivator would not work. Because nobody's going to go into Google before social media. And I wonder if there's a heavy metal version of motivation. You know what I mean?
I probably would have.
But I mean, they're going to say, wow, I'm struggling with being motivated. So I'm going to put into Google how to be more motivated. And whatever comes up is whatever comes up. They don't give a damn what the person listens to. So, I when I teach on marketing, I'll tell people, prior to social media, information was searched for. After social media, information is shared. It's a big difference. Social media means broadcasting. So social media means the broadcasting is from person to person now.
Right.
You see more news stories from friends than you do from, alternative or mainstream media sources. So it's something like this, which is an idea driven. Metal motivation is idea driven. So it's a personal brand. You can't have a brand without an idea driving it. So it's a personal brand, meaning idea driven enterprise that's very easy to spread, from person to person. So the growth has all been from people sharing.
So does that mean you have to be a heavy metal fan to be coached by you?
Great question, my friend. It's a great question because actually, no. And I have so many people who follow now and have over the years who don't really care for heavy metal at all. They're just, well, I just follow CJ. But because I'm not the singer of a band or doing any kind of shtick or act or something like that, then there's no reason for them to do that, because my conversation with you is exactly the way I sound in my videos. It's just the way I look, or it may seem more. See, like a lot of people feel like, Lokesh, that to stand out, and if you want to really be badass, that you have to have a ton of tattoos and a beard. And I always tell people, listen, if you didn't have, if you didn't have that beard 5 years ago, you're following a trend. And so people said, well, why don't you have any tattoos? I said, hey, listen, when I mishandle a Sharpie, that's when I'll get ink on my skin. So I don't do any of that because it's not necessary. If you have something of value to say, to me, the metal part, the masculine part, or what have you, is in the content itself. It's in the message itself, not in anything that I put on. So people think they got to cuss, all tough guy stuff.
Right.
I don't have to do that. To me, it's about the truth.
So it's almost like an oxymoron, metal motivator, because generally heavy metal people think, oh, these guys are drug addicts and, they don't really, they've given up on life. I mean, there's just like so much brainwashing around people's ideas about people who listen to heavy metal. So you have anything to say about that, maybe?
Again, those are all the misconceptions we get over about anything, whether it's race or country or anything can be generalized, and we paint with a broad brush. Now we're in, like when I took my kids, I say kids, they're 33, 32, 23 respectively. I took them to see Metallica. They'd never seen Metallica before, a couple of years ago on the Hardwired tour. So they came to our biggest indoor arena where our big hockey teams play and all that stuff. And Metallica broke that arena's been there for 18 years. Metallica set the record attendance for that place.
Oh, wow.
So when we got there, it took a long time to get in. Short time to get there, but a long time to get in because there's so much traffic. So we parked far away. So I'm walking with my kids into the arena, and I'm looking at all the cars in the parking lot. Now, I saw Metallica back in '83 on the Kill 'Em All tour. And the cars in the parking lot a couple of years ago were a hell of a lot different than the cars in the parking lot now.
More Teslas.
back then. You know what I mean? It was not the same thing. As I'm walking through the parking lot of this arena a couple of years ago, I said to my kids, I said, you would not know you are walking into a heavy metal show based on the cars. We could be walking into the NFL playoffs. We could be walking into the Super Bowl. There was expensive cars, big Escalades, SUVs and Mercedes and all this stuff. And I went inside, and it took me a little while to find somebody with long hair, but everybody had Metallica t-shirts on, and there were kids, older people, teenagers. So, I think a lot of the stereotypes have, for the most part, been, because now when you go to a football game, you're going to hear heavy metal, in between football plays and things. They're playing
even
this stuff.
The wrestling stuff too, right?
Wrestling.
There's a lot of places that,
but still there's still a measure of that misconception. If anything, it's really nowadays, it's more the perception that it's demonic,
Yeah.
or that it's, negative or depressing.
Right.
Or violent.
Or violence.
Yeah.
Right. But I think we've seen enough. I mean, I've probably seen a couple dozen news headlines over the past few years about the latest studies showing that heavy metal is healthy. Heavy metal is a great way to channel aggression, because you look at the people who are writing these songs, they're not that big. You could beat all their asses. You know what I mean? It's just a way of channeling that aggression. But there's something about it. It's much like heavy metal is a lot like horror, in the sense that if you remember the scary movies you might have seen as a kid, like for me, Frankenstein, werewolf, Creature from the Black Lagoon, that kind of stuff, until they came out with Night of the Living Dead or Exorcist. Then all of a sudden, or Rosemary's Baby, all of a sudden shit changed. It was like, what? It got real. Because remember, in I was born in the 60s, shows that came at that time, which I would have watched reruns of when I was young in the early 70s, was if you watched like I Love Lucy or Dick Van Dyke, if they showed any scene in the master bedroom, there was 2 twin beds. Right? It was like, what? They're married people are sleeping in 2 twin beds, and you look at your parents' room, and there's a king size bed. You're like, what the hell?
Right.
They were trying to be sanitary. They were trying to be clean. What horror did, by the time you get to the early 70s with the Exodus, with the Exorcist and whatnot, it tears the veneer off of that plastic culture and looks at what's real. So everything started to change by the 70s. The cop shows got real. You had things like All in the Family, Good Times. It was more real, not so Leave It to Beaver now. It was now Archie, who was this, quasi-racist and misogynist and just patriarch and the like. So things started to get more real. Heavy metal came about at that time. And so heavy metal musically wasn't necessarily singing all about party all night, all of that. Heavy metal got really real. And so for me, when heavy metal truly was born was 1976 with the Sin After Sin album by Judas Priest. I realized Black Sabbath had been around before then, but Black Sabbath was still very a blues-based band. A lot of the leads and the things were very blues, and blues is not metal. So metal is when blues is purged out of the music.
Are you saying Black Sabbath is a blues band?
Well, it's heavy blues. It's basically because everything is based on. I mean, they have a lot of the early metal.
Oh, you mean like the influence is influenced?
Because a lot of the late 60s bands came out of that, so they had a lot of that blues based.
Right.
But by the time you get to Judas Priest, that's purged out, and so the Sin After Sin album, and I would say on that particular record, the song "Dissident Aggressor" is the birth of what we now know as heavy metal.
Even Breaking the Law, there's a song "Breaking the Law." Love
right, but that was a few years later. So
later,
this is 1976. So this is Dissident. Who the hell names a song "Dissident Aggressor"? What the hell is a dissident aggressor? You could name a band or a song "Dissident Aggressor" today, and it would still be metal as hell.
Yeah.
In other words, when you think of metal at that time, it would be like Black Sabbath, which is obviously haunting, obviously Halloweenish, obviously spooky, scary. There's a ghost in my room. It's obviously, but with Dissident Aggressor, it's like, well, what is that? I know it's dark, but it's not like obviously the devil or obviously something like that. It's something wholly other. Dissident Aggressor. It's an attitude. It's steel. It's metal.
Yeah, I think that's what heavy metal is, right? Like more than music, it's just attitude.
It's attitude.
I wanted to quickly, just wanted to ask you how you moved from like just the music stuff to like coaching people and mentoring people. Like, what was the big shift in your life that made it happen? So,
well, I had always done that. I didn't go from playing music to this. I just love. I'm a fan of music like you guys are.
Right.
I played when I was in the 80s, but
Right.
no, metal motivation came out of my spiritual life. So I was, I was in spiritual religious communities where there was an emphasis on personal development. So I did a lot of speaking and a lot of counseling back. We never called it coaching. It was more counseling. You
Yeah.
counseled somebody.
Right.
But my dad was a very motivated person, and I'm a lot like him. So I just it was kind of built in. I just started posting on my own personal page. I'm going to do some more, but it's called Celebrate the Mentors in Your Life. And so I started with a guy who was a kickboxing champion who I met back in the early 80s named Steve Goen, who got a hold of me when I was 18 years old. And I don't know that I would be here doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for him, because he was highly motivated. He was in the best physical condition of any person I'd ever met in my life, and he trained the hell out of me. And so that was the start. And then once I got within the spiritual communities, because it took 2 years of summer school to get me out of high school. So people will always ask, where did you get your degree in this or something? I was like, man, no, I didn't. I'm kitchen table university. So it just, now I've got thousands of volumes in my personal library, but I was not like that back then. So if it wasn't for my spiritual community and the mentors in my life, I wouldn't have gotten on this path. So in about 2007, my business is marketing and branding, design, advertising, that sort of thing. And so I was working with a guy who is a coach back in 2007. And in our consulting meetings, I started to share with him my own personal growth philosophy. And he said, dude, I really like that. And I said, well, I had registered a domain name called 10 times more. And now this is before Grant Cardone came around with his 10X rule. His concept is apply 10 times the effort to whatever you're doing.
Right.
Mine is you're capable of 10 times more than what you realize. So it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I think what he did was phenomenal and fantastic. I endorse the book. But I told him about it. He says, I like that. I'd love to be a part of that. So we went into that as a partnership, thinking we would do something together to share our philosophy. So again, it's 2007. So social media is just getting underway. Yeah. And by the end of the year, he decided to run for Congress. So he said, listen, man, I'm going to go do this. It's your baby anyway. You should probably just do it yourself. But I like the idea of doing it with somebody else. I thought that was cool. And then within early 2008, I was sitting at my desk just in the other room. And I saw a guy on YouTube, and he had a mohawk, a total punk rock looking guy. He had a Brooklyn accent, but he was from Quebec. I couldn't figure him out, but he had all those different elements together. And he kind of said he's kind of more of a rock and roll kind of motivator. And you could tell he was a videographer and as well as a musician, but because the video was done extremely well. And he was a great communicator. He was talking about like The Secret kind of thing. And
law of attraction.
Yeah, law of attraction. Yeah. And he told a little story about it, how it was working in his life and whatever, but it was very, very well done. I was very impressed. I just remember sitting back after it was done and thinking to myself, if I did that, it would be metal. And so I just wrote down metal motivation, and that's kind of where it started.
Oh yeah, DiTina has a t-shirt.
Right? Yeah. The
original Metal Maidens.
Yep.
So it kind of grew from there. Then I hooked up with an old friend of mine who she would know, Todd Pack, who started Metal Motivation with me. Used to be two of us. And we planned every day for a year. He was in Texas. I was in North Carolina. And we talked on the phone every day as he drove to work. And we worked it all out. Took a year to do it. I designed all the graphics. I designed the merchandise. I started to write a book and then quickly realized, well, I don't really have an audience, so who the hell am I going to sell it to? And so I just turned what I wrote into quotes and blog posts. Even the stuff that I'll post today is stuff I wrote, years ago. Because the stuff I wrote that I published back in 2008, 2009 is stuff I had done 15 years before that. So things like "Don't Suck" are probably 25 years old.
Whatever you do, don't suck.
Don't suck. Yeah.
All right, DiTina, go ahead. I've been talking too much. I mean, asking CJ too many questions, but go ahead. I know you have some questions too.
Oh, well,
because you know CJ, maybe you can tell us how you know him, and
also that would be interesting.
Also, you're a coach yourself, or I don't know what's the right word, like counselor, coach, shaman, but maybe how you can
all of the above.
Yeah, maybe how you can kind of relate to what CJ is doing versus what you're doing. Maybe you can connect that a bit.
That's a good question. That's a good
question. Yeah. So I was saying to CJ earlier, and I'll go ahead and share this live with all of you, but I was already aware of who he was, and like we said, back in MySpace times.
Oh yeah, MySpace.
And then he went on to Facebook, and then I was going through a lot in my life, and my mom passed away. And I remember going into my heart and seeking and wanting reassurance and feeling like I was also being heard, or with my family, or I don't know, there was just all kinds of emotions going on. And then I remembered CJ. So I immediately went online, and I went on to Facebook, and I just went to his page, and it was just boom, boom, boom. And I don't even know if it was Facebook or YouTube or where it was back then. This was in 2012. And then as far as let me go back to that. CJ, thank you so much for being such an important part of that for me. Thank you.
That's very humbling. Absolutely. Thank you. You're welcome.
And the other part is the coaching. I resonate so much with a lot of what you say, and I will actually refer some of my clients to you just to watch your videos, because it's just there's a vibe about you, an essence about you, and it's very masculine, and I can't necessarily do that with people. And so it's like, okay, well, just go watch CJ and then call me back, and then we'll talk. So thank you for that. And you don't even know that I'm doing that.
No, I get it. I get it.
You should be paying DiTina for that. You're not.
I probably should.
Yeah, but maybe.
Well, actually,
when
I went through a divorce a number of years ago, and I tried everything I could at that time.
You mean drugs or no?
Didn't do that, but maybe I should have.
Yeah,
but it would have made it easier for sure. But I suggested, I said, listen, let's go talk to someone, before we do this. She was unwilling. And so I said, you know what? Well, I'm going. So I went, and it was a lady, and she was, I forget what she was a PhD, but I don't remember what her thing was. It was just kind of a counselor type therapist thing. And so we started to meet, and she was curious. She goes, because I walked in like me. She was like, oh, who are you? And I said, I'd explained everything to her, and she listened. And, with the first meeting, we went 45 minutes talking about mental motivation.
Wow.
First meeting. And she goes, I can't charge you. She goes, but I'm going to refer so many clients to you. I'm like, I'm here for you. She goes, I know, but I don't get it. I don't get what the problem is with you and your wife. I said, can she come in? I said, I'll try, but we scheduled another meeting. I came in by myself. And we kept talking about this sort of stuff. She says, listen, I would love to milk the money here. But I enjoy just talking shop with you. I really love just these little ways that you phrase things and, the little outlooks and things like that. And so then it happened again when my daughter was seeing a therapist, and because she was 13 years old when this went down, she was in that, it's too much for her. And same thing. My ex asked me to come in and talk to me and my ex are on great terms. I have the highest respect for her. She has the highest respect for me. And she said, would you come and talk to our daughter's, therapist? I said, sure. So I sat out while they had their own little private session, and then they called me in. And so all three of us were in there. And so the therapist goes, so Dad, what do you think happened here? So I'll tell you exactly what happened. And so I went through it. See, because I always worked out of home my whole adult life. So I've always worked out of home for myself. So that's since 1992. And so my daughter grew up in that, and she was homeschooled. And so her door was not 2.5 feet from mine. So every day of her life, she heard me working, talking. She saw me every time she walked out of her room, multiple times a day, every day. Suddenly I was gone. And so I told the therapist, I said, well, what happened is the liturgy changed. She said, what? I said, the liturgy, the movements of life. Liturgy in a church, they do all the movements, the incense, and they do this, and you stand up and they say that, and you sit down and the priest does that. It's liturgy. It's preordained choreography to act something out, which gives meaning to your spiritual life or your actual life. So basic liturgy is if your husband stops coming home at 6 p.m., starts coming home at 9 p.m., drunk with lipstick on his collar, the liturgy has changed.
How do you spell? Is that a word, or you made it up?
Liturgy, liturgy. It's a religious term.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you combined like life with energy. And
no. It's like if you thinking of going into like a Catholic church or something.
Oh, okay.
And they follow it's always the same kind of service. And they move around. It's called liturgy. The liturgy.
I see. Right.
So I said the liturgy changed, which means she stopped seeing me, the same movements, the same everything, hearing me, seeing me every day suddenly changed. And so that sent her little soul into decline. And then so that for that therapist, she was like, oh my God.
What do you mean by that? So
that I've never heard that, but that makes perfect sense. I said, well, it's not a psychological, it's not a standard psychological issue. It's a psychological issue to our unique situation, where at the time, now, of course, everybody now is homeschooled. Everybody now is working at home, but back then nobody was.
Yeah.
So it was unique. People did not live, because my wife was stay-at-home mom. So she's a stay-at-home mom. I'm stay-at-home, and the kids are stay-at-home. People didn't live like us for 100 years. Yeah. So it was a very unique situation for my daughter. But all to say is that that aspect of not just being, it's called mental motivation, but it's a whole lot more than that. And a lot of times I'll get people who will come to me with, can you help me with my PTSD? Can you help me with, like serious manic depression or something? And I'd say, no. I can't help you with that. You need a professional. You need somebody that you can go and be with, a doctor. Yeah. But I would get this so many times, or I would get people who try to argue with me about serious issues.
Yeah.
Really? Like argue with me. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I'm just a guy on Facebook. Why are you taking this shit so seriously? You know,
Yeah.
but the reason is because they took the sum total of all that they've heard me say
Mm,
very seriously,
mm.
and they treated it seriously. So therefore, they assumed I would be able to deal with something more than just getting yourself motivated every day. They thought I would be able to deal with. It's not that I can't deal with these things. It's just that I'm never going to put myself out there, you know, in that
Yeah.
capacity, because I'm not. I can't prescribe the medication. I can't, you know, I
Yeah.
can't do that. And I'd rather refer them to professionals who see people all the time. You know what I mean? Who would be much,
Yeah.
much better. Like I train my dog, right? But that doesn't mean I'm a dog trainer, right? It just
Right.
means I know how to train my dog. Your little
Yeah. I
Chihuahua
drink.
might be a fucking nightmare for me, but I know how to train my German Shepherd. And it's based on not something I made up. It's based on proven principles that work with dog training. But I had to find out what
Yeah.
worked, because she's a working line type of dog. She's leash reactive. So there's certain things that pertain to her particular behavioral psychology
Yeah.
that I apply.
Mhm.
But somebody may think from that, oh, can you come and train my Chihuahua? I don't know that I can come train your Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Better go
So
talk to somebody who
basically,
knows how to train
yeah,
Chihuahuas.
what you're saying is like you're selective about like who you coach or mentor, like, because I think that's a good idea, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't do much one-on-one anymore. I did for a
Right.
long time.
Right.
I stopped because people didn't have the stomach for it. They
Uh,
didn't, not because
yeah.
I was hard. I'm just saying they didn't have the stomach for doing anything for an extended
Okay.
period of time.
Right.
It's I just really need to talk to you. So we'd talk, and we'd schedule a session, and I'd have them fill out a questionnaire to get to learn more
Yeah.
about them. Then we'd schedule that first coaching call with the idea that we would go on from there to bring them through over several sessions. But
Mm-hmm.
once they talk to you that one time, they're done. So I
Yeah,
just
they
said,
just need that one session to get it off their chest.
yeah. So I just figure, okay, well,
Yeah.
I can either schedule like 8 of those every day,
Right.
or
Yeah.
I can do a one to many model,
Yeah.
which just one. I teach one thing, and then it goes out to a whole bunch of
Yeah,
people.
that's the group call you were talking
Yeah.
about before we started. So
Right.
maybe you can tell us, like, or tell everybody what, how often you have those and what you cover, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, now the I had a online coaching group for my mental motivation enterprise
mhm,
called the Life Domination Online Coaching Group,
mhm,
and I did that from 2015 to 2020.
mhm,
So just about 5 years exactly. Um, and I stopped it in 2020 because what I was doing with my business partner, and who I co-host another podcast with, we wanted to start one. And I
mhm.
knew working with him would be a lot more people, a lot more
Yeah,
interest.
yeah,
So I just said, you know what, I'll just keep the stuff that I have up for the metalheads, and I'm going to go work with this other group of people.
yeah.
So we started that. That's been very successful. And that's a good model, because we're just about over 600 members, and those are
Mhm,
paid subscribers. We have 3 different tiers that you
mhm.
can be a part of, 3 levels.
Right. Yeah,
The base level, you get the weekly 2-hour live stream like this,
yeah.
every Thursday night, plus a free Facebook community, which is really, really awesome, and then a few other things. Then tier 2 gets the live stream, plus I do 2 business marketing career Zoom calls for 2
Mhm,
hours twice a month. They get that.
mhm,
And then tier 1, which is the highest level, you get all of that, plus then a 2-hour Zoom calls with me and the
mhm,
other guy on a
mhm,
Sunday night, which is just general topics. And then we just had our first live event for our tier 1 members here in Southern Pines, North Carolina, just a couple of weeks ago.
mhm.
So they get live events. Um, and so that's sort of the model for that. But it works very, very well. Um, in this case, it's not a bunch of people coming in who need to get over their anger or get off a crack or whatever. You know what I mean? It's more people, it's more performance based. So it's more people who do well in life, strong families, own their own business, but they're just ready to take it up a notch.
Yeah.
So that's more my thing. If you're, because I'll tell my mental motivation audience, listen, we could talk all day long about you and your fucking anger issues, but here's the issue: whether if
so you get angry at them about their
so no, I just say, well, so long as we're talking about these petty emotional bullshit, you are not at your post.
Yeah.
It's like having a sentinel or a guard who's guarding the post to the camp, but he's in the hospital.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
so we got to get him healed. So let's get you over your past. Let's get you over your mama issues, over your daddy issues, over all this other shit, so that you can get back to being who you are created and designed to be, a world changer. Because you're not a world changer now. Because all you do is bitch. You don't build. All you do is whine. You don't work.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend all my time doing that. I feel for those people, and there's somebody else who can do that, but I got to work with some motherfuckers that are ready to change some shit.
Yeah.
So I'd rather help them get to the next level than.
That's where the heavy metal attitude. Yeah.
That's the metal motivator.
That's right there.
Yeah. It's like.
But I say that in love. I say that in love.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean.
That's what I love about your website, CJ. If you go to the about part, it talks about the calling. Do you want to share a little bit about what a calling means to you?
Yeah, a calling is the most important thing you can do with your gifts, talents, and abilities, in which you are the most difficult to replace.
Yeah.
So, if you're a waiter, you're replaceable.
Right? Yeah.
If you're a car salesman, you're replaceable. But as a parent,
you're not
harder to replace, right? So which one is the calling, right? The parenting is obviously the calling. So there are things that that if we're committed to the most important thing that we can do with all of our talents, all of our life experience, our knowledge, our interests, the most important role we can fulfill with those things, in which we're very, very difficult to replace, that would be the calling and purpose in life. So, for example, I advise a lot of people on their marketing. Okay. Well, there's a lot of people that can do that, right? A lot of people that can.
Yeah.
So I'm easier to replace, but as pure CJ, metal motivator, quasi CJ, that guy, very difficult to replace.
Yeah.
So but here's the thing, is that people may not want to pay me to be that guy. I may just be on here shooting videos and doing podcasts and not getting a whole lot of monetary return out of it. Does that mean I don't do it? If it's your calling, you do it no matter what.
Yeah.
You use the day job to pay for your calling.
Right.
The calling, you can't, once you put your hand to the plow, like Jesus said, you put your hand to the plow, you can't take it off. Once you put your hand to the plow, you got to keep it to the plow.
Yeah.
Day jobs, the things that pay bills, you can change based on a price point. Hey, if they'll pay me more over here, I'll go over there. Not a big deal. Can't do that with calling.
Yeah.
Can't do that with calling. Calling is that's you. That's so, like Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, would say, this is following your bliss, right? Which is, he says, if you follow your bliss, which means the center of who you are, what you're passionate about, then doors will open that haven't opened before for you and would not open for someone else.
So as a coach, are you helping people find that piece of themselves?
I don't give a shit. No. Well, if I
were to come to you and I said, hey, CJ, I don't know what my calling is.
Yes. Yeah. Right? If we sat down just and had a conversation, I wouldn't be able to turn it off, just like you wouldn't be able to. Okay. I would say, well, tell me more. What you're doing, what you're interested in. That's interesting. Well, here's what I would suggest initially. I would do that. But like I said, I don't talk to people too much one-on-one anymore.
Yeah.
As in other words, as a scheduled, paid, whatever. I just, again, I can't turn it off. So if the three of us spent the night, drinking at Lokesh's place. Yeah, we'd be talking about that stuff all night, and I'd be an open book, and I'd be, hey, you guys speak into my life, man. Tell me what you see, tell me what you think. Let me ask you a few
Yeah.
things.
Right.
So it's like it's pouring vessel into vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to call it strike and ignite. You're a lantern, I'm a lantern with oil. You say something that has life in it, it's like throwing a match in my lantern, and things get fired up.
So wanted to quickly ask you about currently last year or so, the lockdown, people staying home and stuff like, what have you seen change in the people you coach or the cause that you do, how people are reacting to the whole thing?
Man, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
It's like probably like yourself, it's all over the spectrum. You got people obviously who resist it, people who are taking advantage of it, people who are scared to death.
When you say take it, what do you mean? Take it.
In other words, like my friend who I keep mentioning, COVID stopped his travel. That's how he made his money, was by travel.
Oh, okay, I see.
So all of a sudden, so he called it Coronacation.
It is, yeah. Working from home is like vacation itself.
Yeah, so he had the best time of his life. He no longer had to get on airplanes anymore, and everything was fantastic. So he loved it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can see. I mean, it was great when you'd see pictures from overseas, and even in LA, where you could see to the mountains, whereas the smog and things in certain places you couldn't see before, right? And so once all that traffic died down, nature had a chance to kind of revitalize itself.
Right.
I think COVID sucks. What is disappointing to me is that so many did not take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Right. There was so much that you could have done. In fact, I have so many friends because I lived in Texas. I have so many friends in Texas. A lot of them in the music scene. And so, as you might know, Texas stopped.
Pantera. Pantera.
Yeah, exactly. Texas. So Texas stopped the mask mandate. So you don't have to wear a mask in Texas.
Oh, did they recently do that?
Yeah, they did that a couple of months ago. So Texas is wide open now.
Oh, that's why Joe Rogan moved to Austin, and it's like,
right.
LA. Yeah.
So, but what happened is everybody started to go back out to live shows again. All my friends are playing live shows in their bands again, and so everybody's posting pictures of live shows like it was 2019.
Mm.
But what I noticed is how many of these people that I know who gained weight.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
started drinking every day. I mean,
that's not me.
I'm not.
You can still wash your clothes on my stomach, bro. It's just, I'm just not, it's like the Bible says, redeem the time because the days are evil. In other words, buy back the time that you have.
Yeah. So it's like, call it like being opportunistic, right? It's like an opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did anybody that you know of get COVID?
I'm actually several did. Nobody that I know died.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple who said some family members died. But even then, all of the people who are the most susceptible to death
already dead. No, sorry.
Right. Well, no, I know that's in jest, but there's some truth to that. Because they all have, for the most part, conditions that make them susceptible to that, like obesity.
Yeah. So, that's why it's like the whole conspiracy theory. That's where it comes from, because whoever dies, they just put like the corona stamp on it, like.
Yeah, they just say, well, they died of COVID.
And what about the vaccine stuff? Do you think it's like effective, or do you think it's?
That I have no way of knowing. Okay. I mean, I'm not a proponent of getting vaccinated myself, and I realize
unless you really need it, right? Like for travel and stuff, right?
I won't travel.
Okay.
He's got a new truck. He's going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to put unknown chemicals in my body, it's like, I mean, I'm gonna have to watch and see that people are Oh, because like we just saw, they had to pull all Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson Johnson.
They
Yeah.
make Band-Aid, bro. Band-Aids. Johnson and Johnson has been around forever. They had to recall all their shit because of blood clots. So no, I think, dude, there is so much of the political element involved in this that we're not getting accurate information.
I know. Yeah. That, I mean, but when you're saying like putting stuff in our body, aren't we doing that anyway with food, GMOs, what do you call it? The chemtrails. I mean, is this already happening?
Here's a big difference. If I go down and I get a brand of spring mix salad, I buy salad at the end.
Right.
So if I get a brand of spring mix salad and it is perpetually tasting like crap and makes me sick, well, the free market says what? We're not going to buy that brand of salad anymore, right? Because the free market is determining. If you want to be competitive selling your products in the free market, you've got to make sure you don't make people sick. Your item doesn't break, that sort of thing. With the vaccines, there's no price competition. There's no competitorship. It's fully funded by the government. So they have no incentive. In fact, that what they have written into the policy is you can't sue them.
Yeah, you can't sue them. Like that's like
fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, no. So if that means I can't fly to Australia, then I can't fly to Australia. Yeah. I'll see you on a live stream, bro.
Yeah.
Mate. I'll see you mates on live stream. I don't need my family's here. People I love are here. I don't know anybody in goddamn New Zealand, so fuck them. I mean that in love. It's just no. I mean, it's about personal. But besides, what all of the recovery rates are all in the high 90s, like 98 point this percent, 99 point this percent. And the best remedy to all of this is personal immunity, which means, but long before COVID, I took zinc every day. I take vitamin D3 every day, 10,000. I take magnesium every day. I eat 7 to 10 cups of fresh green vegetables, not cooked, fresh, live food every day. I am keto. I eat 2 meals a day. I do 16 hours of intermittent fasting. I train like a beast. I was doing that long before COVID. That's the best remedy for COVID. That's the best security. We shut down the world because look what they did. It sent everybody home where they could eat the shit out of Doritos.
Yeah, right. I mean, and look at all the places that were open. They shut down all the mom and pop places, and I'm not even going to mention the companies that were open, but just look at what
they just. I mean, again, it's just that doesn't mean COVID's not real. That doesn't mean it doesn't kill people. That doesn't mean any of that stuff. I'm not denying any of that. All I'm saying is we know what the recovery rates are, right? It's high 90s. Plus, we know then who are the most susceptible to it. And we know what the best remedy is, just like with the flu. I haven't had the flu in I don't know how long, half past a battle axe. I have no idea when the last time I had the flu is. I don't get flu shots. I don't do any of that. So, but I stay away from people.
Which is a good idea anyway. I mean, without Corona as well. Like.
Dude, I'm like, I was telling her beforehand that, and I've been getting texted by a car salesman because I'm getting a new truck today. And so I turned in my car. And so my car, which I had them sell it to my son. So it's going to stay in the family. But I got it new in 2018. It's now 3 years old. I have just over 11,000 miles on it. So that's how much I've driven in 3 years.
That's not very much.
11,000 miles. So I'm social distancing like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, if you want me to wear a mask in your place, got a mask in the car, I'm in. No problem, man. I'm not going to cry about it. If that makes you feel safer that I have a mask on my face, I love you, man. Despite all your irrational fears, I love you. And that's not a problem for me. I'm not going to sit there for 8 hours and wear a mask. I'll go home.
Yeah. I mean, there's people driving just by themselves wearing a mask. Like, well,
I feel like every time I talk to my peeps at the grocery store, because I'm there 3 or 4, because I eat fresh food. So I got to go to the grocery store every 2 or 3 days. I got a bunch of crap in boxes and cans in my pantry. So I'm seeing them all the time, and they know who my kids are. They know who my dog is. They always ask, "Is your dog out in the car? Did you just go to the park?" I said, "Yes, she's outside. You want to go see her?"
Yeah.
So they'll ask, we'll have conversations, and they're wearing their mask, and their masks are like all convoluted by the time I get to them. You know what I mean? It's like we're covering their eye, and they got one eye open at me, and they're like, "So how's it going?" I'm like, "Well, how's it going with you? Are you tired of this mask yet?" And they're like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, it's just that they have to do it because they're working, right? Like,
Of course.
Yeah.
I get it, dude. It's
Yeah.
irrational, and it's the nature of bureaucracy. I remember taking
Yeah,
my
exactly.
dog.
It comes from the top, right? Like the decisions that
Yeah,
makes,
and then once
yeah.
but then bureaucracies are always like, months behind.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're going to start implementing draconian laws,
Yeah.
austere measures long after the fact. Remember,
Yeah.
this was only supposed to be, when it started, we just need 2 weeks,
2
to
weeks.
flatten the
Yeah.
curve.
Yep.
Right. Which is why I don't trust the government on anything, gun control, free speech, or nothing. Because I know how you motherfuckers think. 2 weeks and it's going to turn into 10 years. I know how you work, because it's in the interest of the state to keep itself in power. The only way to keep the state in power is to keep you scared.
Fear. Yeah. It's just the fear. The whole government and even the corporate life actually is just mostly based on
they're
fear.
almost intertwined at this point.
Yeah. Because I'm going. Yeah. Let me not just
check this out. I remember the guy who wrote the Patriot Act from the Bush administration.
Okay.
He used to be with the FBI. He used to work with Giuliani, took down the mob. But anyway, he wrote the Patriot Act. They didn't. There's like a 1,200-page document they had out in like 30 days. No, it was already written. Okay.
Yeah.
But the Patriot Act, he wrote, and once the Patriot Act came out, you had the metal detectors and all of these things, the body scanners and all that.
It's so funny.
Well, once the Bush administration ended, you know where he went to go work? He went to go work for the main supplier of the body scanners. Just like a lot of the people who got Obamacare through went to go work for the insurance companies. It's always been a racket. Statism is a racket. The moment I don't care who the politician is.
Yeah,
there's always going to be personal interest.
They just work behind the scenes and they work some deals out and they just put it on television. Yeah.
Well, it's like, people. Whenever I talk about conspiracy type stuff, it says people's like, "Oh, conspiracy is crazy." No, you're crazy. Yeah. You're crazy to think that people don't collude together to do bad things for personal interest.
Yeah.
What fucking boat did you just get off of?
Yeah, I was listening.
This is what I call healthy aggression.
That's healthy aggression. Yeah, I'm trying to help you guys.
Yeah,
I grew up in New York, right? So the first 13 years of my life. And so we used to have everything in my town was owned by one of two people. It was either owned by the Rockefellers or it was owned by the mob. One of the two.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you had in New York City, the 5 boroughs had 5 families: Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese. Those are the 5 New York families, right? Now, in the 5 New York families, they're technically secret societies, right?
Yeah.
And in order to be a part of any one of them, you had to be pure Sicilian on both parents' bloodlines.
So that's where the what's the movie? Godfather, right?
Right, Godfather. But watch what they would do. So here these families are who running New York City, everything from construction to gambling to prostitution to loan sharking to extortion, etc. Now, they would fight with each other over turf.
Yeah.
Right? They called it going to the mattresses. They would fight with each other over turf. Kill each other. All the murders of the mob were other mob people. They didn't go out necessarily, they did sometimes, but just murdering civilians. Primarily, it was murdering other connected people. Well, if they went to war with each other, it would stand to reason that if you're the Gambino family and you're at war with the Colombo family, then just turn the Colombo family over to the FBI and say they're an organized crime organization, shut them down. But they never did that.
Because they'll also get into trouble, right?
Right. So in other words, the mafia in Italian, they call it La Cosa Nostra, which means
Yeah.
this thing of ours or our thing. The rackets, it's our thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might go to war with each other, but you never expose the racket because that shuts
Yeah.
everybody down. So politicians can argue Democrat, Republican, or whatever all day long, but you never expose the racket. They'll never tell you that statism is a racket, that the money system that you're under is a phony one.
Because, I mean, that's where the bureaucracy of like government working with those mobs and corporate people, right? Like there's like so much intertwined. We don't even know about it.
Right, because there's too much personal interest at stake. And
yeah.
that doesn't mean there's not good, honest people of all political persuasions. You know, whether it's a Ron Paul on the farthest right or a Bernie Sanders on the furthest left. These are people who might have genuine conviction, political conviction, that are there to do what they believe is a good thing.
Right.
However, the establishment, as we say it, it's never going to shut itself down. So you don't get less government by politics. That's something that Republicans and conservatives need to understand. You don't get less government by politics. You get more. Right? We had the biggest government expansion under Bush and Cheney. This is a question of whether you want the warfare state or the welfare state.
Yeah, I think that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go
finish.
ahead, man.
Yeah.
Well, I took my daughter to Washington D.C. when she was 16, and I remember just standing outside FBI building and all these big government buildings. I just remember I hit it with my fist, just this solid marble, and all the people walking around us with briefcases and stuff, realizing that probably 90% of the people I was looking at work for the government. And I turned to my daughter and I said, they're never going to shrink this.
Did you say 90% over where you were?
Yeah, because I'm right in the middle of Washington, D.C. Everybody who's there.
Oh, they got to
work for some part of the administrations, you know?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say about the whole QAnon thing that, you know, basically they were kind of going in that direction of exposing stuff, but I think they went like in a whole different direction. Like, so do you have any opinion about that stuff?
Well, I start one of my sons started to let me know about Q when it first appeared.
Right.
And it was weird. It was very, cryptic and coded and all of that.
Right.
So I don't know. It didn't seem like the person, if they were an insider, had any real power. But that's all I heard of it. Then it went mainstream, and now suddenly everybody knew about QAnon, and it got everything I was seeing was like, wow, it got really crazy after that.
Yeah, it got real.
Yeah. So I mean, like, because I was raised in the home of a conspiracy theorist. My father was a conspiracy theorist. So back in the 70s, he used to tell me, he goes, beware of the Trilateral Commission and the New World Order and blah blah blah.
UFOs.
Wasn't into that, but I mean, but that kind of thing. He was just saying. So I always thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
But I think the real, what really changed, and if we could talk about socially, culturally, politically, conspiratorial, everything changed after 9/11. 9/11 was that's when everything just changed. That was the universal mind job.
Mind fuck.
Better way to say it. Because that's trauma.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you go into brainwashing, if you talk about like actual brainwashing, what they do in brainwashing, like in cults and things like that, is to cause you incredible trauma.
Yeah.
Which opens you up. And when you're opened up, they program you with things, you know. And then basically the wound is closed and you're programmed. So anybody who deals with any kind of mind control or anything understands that that's how you do it. So that's why that's the root of physical abuse, sexual abuse, all of these things. It's
trauma bonds.
Yeah, exactly. So the 9/11 was a national, almost international,
or or universal, because everything, you know,
it's just, everything just changed.
Yeah.
And so I think ever since then, all of our thinking and approaches to things have been skewed, but at the same time, we've lost a lot. We've lost a lot of the wonderful things that built Western civilization.
Freedom, for example.
Yeah, freedom. I mean, they're damning the most basic things. Family,
Yeah.
the most basic things. To
What do
go
you
in there and
mean?
say, if I walk into the average, if you walked into the average, university today and started talking about the family, they would call you a patriarch, a misogynist,
Oh, really?
all.
Okay.
Oh my God! Unless the
Or,
family you're talking
or
about
on
is,
my end, CJ, a controlling bitch. I
yeah,
mean, it depends. Like, oh, what are you talking about? Family? You're a
yeah,
you're a woman. You don't
yeah,
need a
yeah.
family.
You're not supposed to be
What?
talking about that.
Either a bitch or a witch, one of those two.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Which is
it's
better?
yeah, so all of
Yeah.
these things are being challenged by people who claim to be enlightened,
Yes.
right? And they've
Yeah.
been in
And
college for
me,
about an
I'm
hour
one
and a
of them.
half, and
Yeah.
they're enlightened.
I have a video about that. I claim to be enlightened, but not really, because it was a stand-up thing.
Oh
So
yeah, your stand-up comedy. Yeah, that was a funny one.
yeah, I mean, anybody can say that's what Buddha. They like one day like fuck this word. I'm enlightened. So everybody's like, okay, nobody said that before, so you must be enlightened. Um, because they
Yeah,
didn't have a
exactly.
benchmark. Like, this was no
Yeah,
benchmark. Like I'm enlightened. Okay, whatever.
yeah. Nobody's used the term before, so why not? All right. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. Not because it's funny because it's true.
Yeah, because anybody, I can announce it today. I can put it on. I mean, I did actually. But was I can be serious about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm enlightened. Come talk to me, and I'll show you the way.
Yeah, everybody. There is a loss of object. Well, you know what it is? It's just a loss of decency.
Oh, you mean what are you talking about? The corona?
Just arguing everything, arguing
Oh, yeah.
all points. It's just there's
Okay.
just not it. There's not a liberty to. Well, speak your mind. Let me hear what you. I may disagree, but let me hear what you have to say. You're passionate. You believe in what
Yeah.
you stand for. We might disagree right now, but let me hear what you have to say. You can't do that. You'll
Yeah.
lose
I
your
mean,
job. You'll get
I
kicked off
know.
Twitter for that.
Yeah, I know it's hypocritical because I saw the first speech between Biden and Trump. I think it was October or something. Because that's exactly what they were doing, like just like fighting like kids and arguing. I'm like, but it's like when others do it on YouTube or Facebook, like, you can't do that or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is like the whole concept of government and the two-party system is built on arguments and conflicts. Like,
Yeah.
it's never going to
No,
work. So
you're exactly right.
yeah.
They, which we would consider debate to be healthy. We would,
Yeah.
we want to learn. Like I got
Yeah.
people who will comment on a post and they just go. I mean, they disagree with it, so they're gonna. It's just
Yeah.
all vitriolic.
Right.
And I'll tell them, I say, listen, man, just hold on a second.
Yeah, listen to
I
me
said,
first. Yeah.
first of all,
Yeah.
listen, I want to hear from you.
Mhm.
I want to hear opposing positions. Let's have a talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
have a discussion about that. We
Right.
can, but you're bringing attitude right out of the gate. Why
Yeah.
is that the first thing you come with? Why are you
Yeah.
so, if you're going to get that offended over a Facebook post, I'm concerned about your emotional stability.
Yeah. Or common sense. Sometimes it's like common sense, it works.
Yeah, it's like we can all learn and we can all grow with
Yeah.
dissenting views, and because we
Yeah.
could talk about it, we could say, listen, I understand your point, but here's why I think that's not correct.
Yeah.
A, B, and C.
Right.
That's politeness.
Yeah.
Right. But people don't want to be polite. So it's either used to be road rage, now there's digital rage. People that
Yeah.
irrationally fly off the handle that would normally be nice in life. I know some ladies who are nice in life that would serve me pie. Get them on the road and somebody cuts them off and they turn into Satan himself. Something about being on the road just changes them. It's the same thing being online. There's just digital rage. People just can't, I don't want to react out of a person I don't want to be anymore. I want to act out of the person that I want to become. I want to be right. Action oriented, not reaction oriented. My dog is reactionary. She sees another dog, she's going to start tripping. So I'm like,
Right.
there's no reason for you to trip. Well, she doesn't understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying. There's not a rational
Mhm.
bone in her body. It's all behavioral psychology. I got to beat that out of her. No, I'm not kidding. But people are like that. They're no different than a
Yeah.
dog. They're
Yeah.
least reactive. They see a
Yeah.
dog.
That's the Pavlov. What's that
Yeah,
theory? Pavlov or something. Yeah.
Pavlov's dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can talk a little bit about music. Like, because it's too much. It
I
gets too.
have something that I want to talk about before
All right, go
I don't
ahead.
even know what time it is. But so there's mudras, right?
Yeah.
And those are hand movements. CJ, what is your personal understanding of the metal mudra?
Oh, this one.
Well, I mean, historically, there's going to be a debate between whether it was Dio or Gene Simmons that came up with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard that argument so many times.
But I mean, if you go back to the original Coven album, the first Coven album, they're throwing horns.
Yeah.
So that's long before Dio or Gene Simmons. So I think its origins are obviously demonic in the sense that it's devil's horns. You know, what did
Well, Dio was explaining this 666.
Well, Dio was saying it's this Moloch, which means
and the Moloch, yeah.
I don't understand that that's a Moloch. Moloch was a god in the Old Testament that they would sacrifice children to. So I don't know where he's getting the term Moloch from.
His grandma.
Well, his grandma may be full of shit. So he's just parroting what your grandma said. Doesn't make grandma right? But as it stands today, it just means like rock and roll. So I'll see like, like a real estate guy just had a great sale today and he just throws the horns. It's like he doesn't mean anything by it.
I mean, some people do this, but that's different.
But that doesn't mean anything. You could put that in anybody's face. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, unless they know, like somebody who doesn't know what this means or this means, like, what the fuck? What do you think?
Dude, that's so right, man.
So do you think Ozzy actually ate bats on stage?
Yes.
Live bats?
Well, accidentally he did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He somebody threw it on stage, so he thought it was because they throw stuff all the time, and he thought it was going to be like a fake thing. So he bit the head off.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the story was he thought it was going to be rubber.
Yeah.
Like a rubber.
And he just like started chewing on it, like.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he just went with it.
I think at this stage we're pretty much beyond the, overtly, overtly satanic type stuff. Yeah. Right. Like I'll get a lot of questions from well-meaning Christians because they know my background, and they'll say, "Well, dude, how do you justify this?" And I'm like, "Well, A, why do I matter? And then B, what has to be necessarily justified? Because if we're going to start with that premise, justification for something that you feel like is overtly evil, then I would like to come visit your house, because I bet you looking at porn behind your wife's back. I bet you watch shows on certain channels that I could consider just as much. It's one thing to say like, "Hi, I'm the devil. Notice my horns, notice my tail." It's another thing when it comes through, in a subliminal level, or the values represented in certain sitcoms. Are you going to call yourself a Christian and you watch all the Friends episodes? A bunch of single know-nothings who want nothing to do with the family that are all sleeping around with each other. That's what you endorse. You're getting on my case because of, God hates us all from Slayer. That's what you're getting on my. That's easy to pick on. That's easy to take a shot at. But I guarantee you, if I went up your ass with a microscope, I'd find all kinds of satanic shit in your house. So it's better not to go there. Just leave it alone, bro.
Yeah.
And just you work it out between you and whatever is good, whatever appeases your conscience. Now, it doesn't mean I don't know what some of these people are. I do know what they're saying. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I can't sit there and listen to a bunch of just blaspheming whatever nonsense all day long. It's just not appealing to me. It's not a great song. I don't know where heavy metal would be without the Bible. What the hell would they sing about?
Right.
They got nothing to sing about, man. So you know, you take a band like Metallica or Judas Priest or Iron Maiden, you're talking about sophisticated lyricism, you know, about subjects and things that are deeper in the human psyche and the human condition. They don't go for the obvious stuff. I hate the church. That's too obvious, dude. You're a lazy songwriter. Plus, it's been after Slayer did it, after Slayer and King Diamond and Merciful Fate did it, you're just an echo, not a voice. It's been done to death, bro. Come up with something more interesting than another satanic song about how much you hate God or life or whatever. But they're also full of shit, because I guarantee you can show me the most satanic band in the world, and they've got the goat's heads on spikes and all the evil stuff and upside down crosses. But I guarantee you they'll still get bent out of shape if I steal their instruments.
I was going to mention
why? Because thou shalt not steal. That's why. Exactly. You're borrowing Christian capital for a morality. You're full of shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's Christian metal, but I mean, I was going to mention Striper. I mean, that's been one of my favorite metal bands.
I love Striper, but I love Slayer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love
exactly.
King Diamond. I love Celtic Frost. There's a lot of
that's
they're just great. They're just so good, you know. And it's some of the stuff I don't necessarily agree with, but it's like, oh my God, they're so damn good though. I don't make a big deal out of it because I know my heart. I know where I'm at. I think what's important is that I'm lawful to others. You know what I mean? That I treat others justly, and that I put them before me, and that I serve them, and that I sacrifice. That is not going to change no matter what music I listen to. But I know people, you know, there's bishops who've been bishops all their life that rape little kids. So it doesn't matter what you look like. You know, ultimately it comes down to, are you doing good to other people? That's ultimately what it's going to come down to.
Right.
But with, you know, I love Striper because they were courageous to do what they did at that time.
Yeah.
You know, this is back when all the early glam bands were coming out.
We were talking about the Calling earlier. There's a song they have, Calling on You. Like it's amazing. Like,
it's a great song.
It's like puts me like I have tears in my eyes even now sometimes when I listen to some of this song, because it's like they're talking about God, but you can also think of it as people, you know, relationships.
Well, that's, I mean, how I became a part of the spiritual, because I was raised in an atheist home. So what brought me into the spiritual and religious communities in the 80s was what laid the groundwork was Striper. You know, because they were such a good band and they were singing about these things in a cool way. So whenever I talk about this stuff, especially on my own podcast, I'll talk about Bible verses all the time because they're so heavy metal. You know, like when like there's a verse that I consider the most heavy metal verse of all time, and it's, I forget what I think it's in Isaiah, it might be in the Psalms, but he says, I will destroy the wicked with evil. Oh my God. There's just a few words. I will destroy wicked evil. Destroy the wicked with evil. Tell me that's not heavy metal. Or the book of Job talks about the war horses, and it says they snort, and it says they will devour the distance with rage. It's the King James. They would devour, these war horses will devour the distance to the battle with rage. Like, dude, Judas Priest couldn't come up with those lyrics. Where else are you going to find murder, genocide, angels, demons, all that kind of crap, all in one book? And again, if you didn't have the book of Revelation, what would half of these bands write about? 666, the number of the beast. Well, that's Revelation, dude.
Yeah.
You know? So it's fine. I mean, I think people are more cool with it now, and they get it. And I mean, obviously I'm using profanity, so I'm no model to follow. But I'll do you right.
Yeah, it's like
I'll pick up the bar tab.
It's like sometimes it's like don't shoot the messenger, because sometimes people get too obsessed with the person who's saying. It's like the message. It's not about who's saying it, or where it
Yeah.
comes from. It's like,
No,
what do I
you're very
get
right.
out of it? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'll tell people,
yeah,
dude. I'll tell people all the time. I'll say because people will
yeah,
say the nicest things,
yeah,
um, because they appreciate the content and the difference that it's
yeah,
made in their
right,
life, and
right,
I
right,
appreciate that. That's a very
right. Yeah,
that's a serious thing, and I don't take that lightly. However, sometimes they can laud it on too much, and I
mm,
say, well, don't confuse the message with the messenger,
yeah.
because if there's anything that I've ever said to you that has really changed your life,
That's all
there's
that matters.
right,
Nothing
well,
else matters.
right, nothing else matters, right. But if anything I've said to you has changed your life, then there's no way I own that.
Yeah,
It must be true in the world. So I don't go
yeah,
back and hug my first grade teacher because she taught me 2 + 2 = 4. She's
mm,
just the messenger. I
yeah, yeah,
love the principles. I love the wisdom. I want them love the wisdom, love the principles, and go be a metal motivator in your corner of the world. I'm not just the
yeah,
metal. I'm just a metal motivator.
yeah.
You go
I
do
mean, you
that
are
in your
the, but
world.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just, but that's for marketing, But I
you're
mean,
just being humble. Yeah, you're just being humble.
but
So
it's just a and kind of like a prototype, and just say, okay,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Some branding. Yeah,
you go be
yeah,
a positive force of life wherever your high tops take you.
right. Yeah,
Go be that where you are. Become the fuse, as Hatebreed said. Set things aflame where you are.
Yeah.
There you go.
oh yeah. Set. Sorry, can you say that again?
Become the fuse and set things aflame wherever you are.
Set things aflame. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone out there wants to read some really awesome lyrics, just listen to Hate Breed or Lamb of God.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Some of it,
there's a plethora of them out there, but
yeah, yeah. Some of its stuff is would seem to be negative, but it's actually positive. If you are talking about, I'm going to go out and crush my enemies tonight, um, that seems very violent. Well, I'm not going to go out and crush my enemies.
Energetically,
I'm
in
going
which
to
you way.
envision
Yeah,
myself doing it
yeah,
because of these lyrics and this badass riffs.
yeah,
And so doing, I've channeled my
yeah,
aggression. It's healthy aggression. I'm
yep.
channeling that aggression, and I feel appeased now, and I don't have to go be destructive. My music has helped me to, you know, to keep the lines clear
yeah.
and ever flowing and getting out the impurities and all of that. And so I tell people all
Mm,
the time, I said, listen, I mean, all I'm doing is putting a face and a name to what people have always done with heavy metal music. The reason why I do metal motivation is one simple thing. What heavy metal did for me is what I'm doing for others.
yeah, yeah,
That's what it means to be a metal motivator. I didn't
yeah,
listen to heavy metal because it was destructive. I don't still listen to heavy
yeah,
metal because it's destructive. I listen to it because it enhances my life. It helps me.
yeah.
It gives me, I don't know a whole lot of people that take classical music to go lift heavy weight. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
You're going to bring like hip hop or hard rock or heavy metal. You're going to bring something that gets you, in that frame of mind for doing that.
Mm,
So all I'm doing is put a face and a name to it. It's always been motivating. People say, is metal motivating? Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. You wouldn't have this many fans, lifetime fans. I've never met the guy who told me, oh, yeah, I used to be hardcore into Slayer in the summer of '85.
Yeah, once.
Yeah,
One time.
one summer. Then you weren't a fan.
Right.
Like people,
yeah,
whenever I
always be,
post
yeah,
something like from Kiss, people will say, "Oh yeah, I like Kiss when I was 13."
yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, that
No, you
that
didn't.
means you were,
If you
yeah,
didn't listen to Love Gun a couple days ago, you're not
Yeah.
a Kiss fan.
That's
yeah,
one thing
even,
I love about the heavy metal is it's a sense of family. It
yeah,
really
yeah,
is. You go to a show and everyone it's in your blood. You can feel it and you sense it around. Metal
yeah.
family.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I mean, so I was listening to Pantera 5 minutes, because we have 5 minutes left. I was just thinking of the
Yeah.
song 5 minutes
It's
Alone by
alone.
Pantera. Yeah, I was like, that song is like, it sounds like it's self-destructive or whatever, like depressive, but it's actually kind of meditative. It's like, just give me 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes alone. Exactly. Yeah. Those guys are old friends of mine, man. Because I was in
Yeah,
the Dallas area. We were all the same age at the same time. And in fact, I was just telling somebody yesterday a Dimebag story.
Mhm.
Before they got really heavy, they did a bunch of albums with their previous singer Terry Glaze in the 80s.
Mhm.
And I think the second or third album was called I Am the Night. There's kind of a slow ballad like song on it called Forever Tonight. And I was with Daryl Dimebag um, in at a bar called Matley's off Northwest Highway in Dallas. And this was probably 85, 86. And it was really dead. It was like a weekday night. And he said, dude, come out to the car. I want you to hear something. So I went out to his car and he played me the dailies, which is the recording they did that day, just like an early draft of the song Forever Tonight off of that album. He was like, dude, the tremolo is badass. Don't you? And it was really good. Daryl was he was always great. I said, no, dude, it's great. It's great. I'm not thinking anything because those guys used to make fun of me and my friends because we had hair down to our waist. We used to come into the bar when they would be playing and we'd bring in like the Slayer and Exodus and SOD and Metallica, even Queensryche, early Queensryche,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
to play. And the DJ would say, I can't play. It's a metal bar. I said, we can't play that because they can't dance to it. We're like, the fuck? So, but this is Pantera. Pantera had 3 albums out and they were still playing cover tunes in Dallas.
Mhm.
So that's just the way the scene was. So, but they knew us. And so they would wait to the last set, the last song of the set, they learned Seek and Destroy. And so they would play the last song of the night. They'd play Seek and Destroy. Then me and my buddies would go out and thrash each other around and slam dance and all that kind of stuff. So like I hooked up with Rex Brown.
The bassist, right?
The bassist, yeah, back in
Yeah.
2009 or I think it was 2009.
Right.
So we hadn't seen each other in 25 years. And so me and Todd Pack, the guy who I started Metal Motivation with, because he was with one of my running buddies at the time, we all knew each other. So I hit up Rex and he went out to a small pub with just me, him, and Todd. We just spent the night together there. First thing he said once he saw me was, still a metalhead. Because he was rock. Rex was rock. Rex was more in like the Zeppelin and that kind of stuff. Because again, they started in the more glammy kind of, type of thing. They changed after Phil.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they didn't come from what we came from. We came from new wave of British heavy metal and thrash.
Right.
So we were the ones out of place in Dallas. But
Right.
but yeah, man, 5 Minutes Alone is a great tune.
Phil Anselmo, wow, he has that attitude. We were talking about attitude. I mean, that's probably the most attitudinal guy. Like every song and every face expression is like attitude.
Yeah, it's funny when people from Texas, when we hear the lyrics of the songs, we hear a lot of the common parlance from Texas. Right. Like when you say "walk on home, boy," that's Texas. That's a Texas phrase. So you hear a lot of that kind of thing of all I smell in the air is chicken shit. And yesterday don't mean shit. That's Texas. That's just a Texas attitude. Which is what actually out of all the bands I've ever seen, Pantera had the greatest marketing plan, because in the early 90s when Cowboys from Hell really brought them on the scene, that was Nirvana days, that was Soundgarden days,
grunge.
So everybody was running from heavy metal or the label heavy metal.
Right.
So Pantera said, well, if everybody's going to leave it, we're going to embrace it, which means we're the only ones standing. And so by the time they get to that album, this is called Great Southern Trend Kill. That was
after Far Beyond Driven. Was before
that was after. So it was the epitome of what you call in branding repositioning. In other words, you establishing your brand by repositioning the leading brand. So Tylenol did that with aspirin back in the 70s. And it's called repositioning. It's a way to brand yourself. You demonize the market leader so you can position yourself. Called repositioning. And Pantera did that by repositioning. Pantera was the first ones to call what was happening in the 90s a trend. So they were calling it a trend. So they were like, we are the Great Southern Trend Kill. We're going to kill grunge. And sure enough, Pantera lasted, grunge did not.
Yes. Although I
Thank
love,
God.
I mean, Nirvana, I mean, I think probably Nirvana and Soundgarden I really connected with, but yeah, there's nothing, it
Alice in
doesn't
Chains was
come,
good, man.
oh, Alice in Chains, yeah, but it
Yeah.
doesn't come as close
No, it
to
just doesn't. Yeah, it was too
I
too
made in,
depressing.
yeah, I know,
See, that was depressing.
right.
Heavy metal wasn't depressing,
Oh, yeah, you're
right?
right, yeah,
Heavy
yeah.
metal
Yeah.
was.
Wah.
Yeah. I'm hurt. I'm depressed.
Mhm.
I'm whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Um.
also they did had a lot of suicides too, right? Like the grunge people.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
just too.
yeah,
It took away the show, the lights, the costume, the larger than
yeah,
life stuff. That's fun, man. We don't have to
yeah.
get realistic on stage, bro.
I mean, Jim Morrison used to do that, but I mean, that was like a whole different thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's just
yeah,
following the model set down
yeah,
by Kiss
okay.
that
Yeah.
give people the concert that they wish you would have seen.
With the makeup and everything.
Just whatever it is,
Yeah,
just make it larger than life. It's metal. We're
yeah,
supposed to go here to escape. We're not supposed to go here and
but
get real.
yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
I don't want to hear a bunch of heroin lyrics. Let's talk. I'll be like, do you talk about some mythology? Talk about some crazy leprechaun shit.
Yeah.
I don't care, but don't talk about depressing stuff.
Exactly.
I can deal with the leprechauns. I can deal with that and rainbows and all that crazy shit. But let's, I don't get into all that. I'm in pain. I don't care that you're in pain. Metal up. Anyway, I've got my car dealer my salesman's gonna be here in just about 10 minutes, so I gotta go.
All right. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah. Do you have anything, DiTina, before we wrap up, or?
No, not really. I think everyone here, just CJ, the Metal Motivator. Thank you so much. Metalmotivation.com. He's on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you want to look, I guess, whatever social media outlet you have. And do you have anything? Oh, the merch. You got to buy some merch.
Yeah.
I put my first shirt on.
Metal Motivation Store. Listen, I'm sorry for being so talkative and
no, it's all good. Yeah.
You don't get to go there, CJ.
Yeah.
You guys are obviously very capable and able and have so much to. I hope
maybe we'll do it again. So you just listen next time.
We do this again. The Metal Motivator is here to listen to me this time.
No, this is I'm so honored because we actually got to capture you. I mean, your essence, your being, your rawness.
Thank you.
This is just amazing for me. And sometime soon I have a story for you about Pantera too.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Privately.
Oh yeah. So we should be doing this again. Maybe whenever we can get together, maybe a month or so, we should probably.
Yeah. I'd love to come back and talk to you guys again.
So another thing too, so you're not really doing a lot of the one-on-one stuff, but the classes that you were doing and where is that to be found?
That's at well, I don't know that anybody would really get into that. It's really for a much different target market.
Okay. All right.
So no, I would just say go to Metal Motivation, enjoy the videos and articles and all of that stuff. And if you're interested in supporting, you can always go to the store and get merch. It's pretty cool stuff. But that and follow Facebook.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, CJ. It was great talking to you. It's
great to meet you, my friend. You're my new friend, and I want to hear your comedy, dude.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's so good. Everyone, Lokesh is the best comedian.
Oh, thanks. I also have some music. I used to produce electronic music on the computer. I also play guitar, but it's like mostly air guitar. But anyway,
I have,
awesome,
man.
So we'll catch up soon. I'm probably look up your group on Facebook and your monthly call. Maybe love to join you sometime. And actually, DiTina and I were also talking about starting some kind of a mastermind group. So maybe, next time when we talk, maybe we can share some ideas. Maybe we can collab or something like that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. Okay. Thanks, CJ, and thanks, DiTina. Yeah.
Enjoy your trip.
And all right. Yeah, thank you.
Hugs to your dog.
I appreciate that. Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Thank you so much, CJ.
You bet.
Bye.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.